Hello and welcome to ABW Live. See, even Jason's not here, and I still do hello like he always does on the podcast. I'm your host, John. No Jason tonight. I don't even think you bothered watching the game. Apparently, he's not interested in goat herders. That's right, Brentford fans. He's like relegating you to the same sort of quality of football as Vorskla now. So with me tonight, we couldn't find anyone else, so we had to drag in Danny. You all right, Danny? How you doing?
It's my debut, John. I'm all nervous. Please be
Oh,
gentle.
yeah, I've heard that a couple of times before.
Easy, tiger.
Moving swiftly on, we also have special guests tonight. We have Richard. Hello, Richard.
Hello.
How are you? Thank
I'm
you very
very
much
well.
for coming on.
No, my pleasure.
Yeah, Danny recruited you. I know. You've been on before on transfer deadline day. I'm trying to remember the words
Yes.
now. There we go.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, so I'm sure a few of our listeners are probably already familiar with you. I'll just say a quick shout out in the box. Oh, who's in the chat? J Rob, Standerman. I think J Rob was first in the chat box. Apologies if I got that wrong. I might have loaded the page a bit late. Joshua Page, MJL, Ree Raslos, Frank Gunner, Standerman. Who else have we got in here? Alexander Arslan, Nord Hillwood as well. Hello, Steve. Billy Butler. Loads and loads of people. Thunder Road, Arsenic Gunner, Demon from Hell. Good evening. How are we all? Another win, 6 in a row. What is going on? This is strange times, Danny. Very strange times. I just want to get your thoughts on the lineup for tonight before we go into the game. Was it what you were expecting? Because we knew there was going to be rotation, but still quite a few like strong names on that team sheet.
It's not what I expected. It's not what I wanted, and they didn't play like the team that we put out. When you consider that we our under 23s are currently joint top of the under 23 league after 6 games, and then out of the entire starting 11 we had there, only really is Emil Death Row. I nearly fucked that up when I tried saying that. So out of that lot, I'm just looking. You could probably say at the moment, Holding, Mustafi, Monreal, Guendouzi, Mkhitaryan, 5 of those are almost regular our current first team starters. Our Spurs have won on fucking penalties, you shit bags.
Yeah.
Because with the injury to the big Greek man whose name I always mess up. So I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't put out more youth players. I know that on the bench we had Martinez, he's about 20, I think he's about 26 now, so he doesn't count as a youth player. Eddie Nketiah was on the bench, and Kolasinac was there, but he's just come back from injury. So I think if the result would have been a little bit different, if we'd been a little bit more in our direction, then possibly he would have come on and got some game time, which he needed. But when you look at the bench, and we got Lacazette, Torreira, Ramsey, Bellerin, all regular. I mean, they're all first team starters. And when you've got a bench full of those, you've got to think, well, maybe it's because we're going to be using these in the Checker Trade Trophy, the under 23 Cup at the moment, and the under 23 league as well. I'd like to have seen some names on there like Zelalem. He's now 21 years old and he's back into full fitness and played a few under 23 games. Charlie Gilmore, another one, 19, doing well for the under 23s. And then I'd have thought maybe someone like Cohen Bramall might have been an ideal game for us to get out an actual proper left back.
Is he not injured?
No, he's back from injury now.
Is he back now?
Well, actually, we did go through this last night, me and Chris, after the pod. We went and had a look at that website, so he could be injured. I don't know. But I know he's back at the club and he's doing all right. Julio, unpronounceable. he could have played. They're the kind of names I expected it to be there. But, yeah, it's a bit surprising. But maybe he just wants to go out and win it. A trophy's a trophy, and he won back-to-back French League Cups, didn't he? And he does like a League Cup.
Yeah. So, Richard, just your take on it, because this is... Obviously, we've had 20 years of Arsenal essentially not disrespecting this competition, but generally, taking it a little bit lighter than the others and rotating heavily and using a lot of youth. We had the Europa League game Thursday, obviously, where we did some rotation and brought some other guys in who hadn't got game time. And I, like Danny, was expecting a few more. Obviously, we saw Smith Rowe and Nketiah on the bench, but I expected a few more tonight. So, is it refreshing for you to see like more experienced players out, or are you like Danny, would like to have seen a few more youngsters?
I'm a little bit similar to Danny. I felt a bit sorry for Nketiah. I thought he would have got a start or maybe at least played some minutes. I think because it wasn't going the way we thought it was going to be going, like a 2-1. Then he didn't come on. That's why I brought Lacazette. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm kind of okay with the team that he put out, kind of thing. You know, people like El Neni getting some minutes, Holding getting more minutes as well, Lichtsteiner getting more minutes. So I was kind of happy, and the same with Leno. I think Leno needs to. It's going to be so infrequent him getting the Europa League games. So him getting a start and playing, I was kind of happy with it. I was happy for the old Defro to get on, but yeah, no, I was okay with it. I know Wenger used to normally blood the youngsters on there, and it is really, really good. But like I said, we've got that Checker Trade trophy now, so that kind of replaces the League Cup kind of thing. So yeah, no, I was happy with it. I was cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, I did feel a little bit sorry for Nketiah because I think if the game had gone more the way we wanted, then maybe he would have got on the pitch. But yeah, we'll jump into the game now. Hello to a few more people in the chat, and hello to everyone listening who's not watching live as well on iTunes or Acast, SoundCloud, wherever you are. Thank you as always. Danny, it was weird start because at one end we had Bernd Leno, who has been brought in for 25, 26 million because he's good with his feet, nearly score an own goal because he can't control it. And then a minute later, we go up the other end and score from Welbeck. So it's a lot more exciting than I expected for the first 5 minutes in the game.
I thought that was the barn doors being opened for an avalanche. That is a saying that would never, ever be said by anyone else again for the rest of human history. So I have no idea what the hell that means. Yeah, thought, that's it. It's on because they are, I'm going to say it, they are only a championship team. They're not like a Premier League team that have come down. They're not a championship team that have been battling for promotion for the last few years. They're a half-decent championship side that historically they were a kind of a decent League One side. So it's good to see them doing well. You could, I think you could ask every single gooner you can get your hands on and said to him, name some players from Brentford. A few might have said Nico Ionares because he used to play for Arsenal and he's an Arsenal fan. He was a ball boy. But other than that, no one would know they are. So,
well, technically they're my local side, and I haven't got a Scooby. Like, who plays for them? Like, I barely even knew that Nico until we drew them. I didn't even know that Nico Ionares played for him. So
he's been there for about 5 or 6 years. Or maybe
Really?
even longer. He's their best player. Well, one of their best. He's usually a right back, but he was playing in central midfield tonight. So I thought, here we go. We've got a strong team out. We're going to go and hammer them. Maybe just to make it, was it 6 wins in a row we've got now? Or was, yeah, that was number 6. That's absolutely fantastic to get that. It doesn't matter whether they're against people in the Europa League or whether it's people in the League Cup. A win is a win, and that builds confidence throughout the whole team, and that's what we want. And I expected more. There should have we had the chances to go 2, 3, 4-0 up before halftime. Mkhitaryan fucked up a couple of times. Welbeck wasn't used to wasn't match sharp because although he got a couple of goals and he did well, and he's one of the few players in that team tonight that I go, yep, you can have your sausage sandwich because you've done well. But the rest of them, I think quite a few of them didn't do themselves any favours. I think Guendouzi was the one for me that he let the occasion get the better of him, and I think people will see that and they might start to wind him up because he's young and full of spunk, as the Australians would say, and the people have gone, now we can see how we can wind him up, and that might make games harder for him because people hadn't heard of him before, but now they know you give him a little kick and he's going to fight back.
Yeah, he had a mixed game. I do want to go into later some individual performances because I thought there were some good ones tonight and a few a little bit suspect. Just going on to that Welbeck goal, Richard. It wasn't, he didn't have any challenges around him, but decent ball in. He put it bang in the corner. You can't ask for anything else for a guy who, let's be honest, he's kind of a bit part squad player these days. Perfect performance from him, I thought, tonight.
Yeah, I thought he did really, really well. Like I said, I like Welbeck. He's a bit, he's can be a bit hit and miss and falling over the ball and silly things like that. But you can't lack his effort. He does try. Was you referring to the first goal or the second goal?
The first goal in particular.
Goal,
I mean,
yeah.
He's obviously there's no marking, but you've still got he did absolutely everything perfect.
Yeah.
Put it as far in the corner as he could, didn't he? So
it was like he didn't have to get anything on it. He just had to kind of redirect it with a little deft. It was very, very. I say it's a finish that probably 9 times out of 10 he would probably miss, but he's got it in his locker to get it on that 10th try. It's as stupid as that sounds.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, and nice ball in from Guendouzi as well. Gets himself an assist. Just want to say, because look, Jason's not here, so I've got to do it. I'm not doing the accent this time. If you were here previously, I did a terrible Welsh accent on the last show.
Tappy,
Jason,
tappy.
yeah. You got to tap the like button because there's 137 live now. I've only got 29 likes. And also, this one's at Mr. Davies when he listens to this. I think you might notice Richard here has got a lovely ABW t-shirt on. See, he's repping the brand. What have I got on, Jace? Nothing, eh? That post struggling from Wales, is it? Can't quite reach me. Terrible.
It's not like Steve living in the middle of the Baltic somewhere where there is no post. Steve only gets posts twice a year, and one of them is from a bloke with a big white beard.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I guarantee you now, because I've made that comment, OG in Canada and Dom will probably get those before I do.
Yeah. Well, at least you didn't get one and have it stolen immediately by the offspring. It's now sitting somewhere on the floor in Nottingham. Hopefully her bedroom floor, not someone else's.
Yeah. I'm not going to comment on that. Danny, Mr. Hollick, who evening Dave is having a lovely evening watching the football, was commenting how this game was kind of a flip of what everything's been going on in the league. In that we started very slowly, and then second half we've come into it. Whereas tonight we started really well, and then second half we dropped off. I thought Smith Rowe was good. He had a really good break, and a nice tackle came into him. Mkhitaryan and Iwobi were interchanging the ball very well together and stuff, but Mkhitaryan, either his first touch wasn't quite there or the finish wasn't there sometimes. But overall, just in the way we set up, obviously we're playing the same formation. You've got Iwobi wide one side, Mkhitaryan the other, where normally we'd have Ozil and we'd have Aubameyang. Now, I'm not saying they're better players, but do you think the balance was better in the team tonight? Just in terms of players holding their positions better than, Ozil tends to drift in. Aubameyang wants to run in behind and doesn't necessarily stay out on the left wing. Do you think we saw the benefits of that at least in the first half?
I think possibly we did because we saw when Ozil was at Real Madrid, he did play out wide quite a bit. Apparently, I don't watch those feeder leagues because they're nonsense. I'm just looking here to see what footed who scored. No, Transfer Market says that. That Iwobi is, because I noticed quite a few times. Yeah, there you go. Right foot. I thought so. I was going to say quite a few times he was on the right hand side and he was cutting in and using his right foot when he was on the left hand side as well. There was one particular time when he was actually on the right hand side and he cut in and then he used his left foot. So I think he might be ambidextrous. I think that is definitely the correct pronunciation of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that is a point because you should play. He is known for being, when he's played most of his games, he has played as the left-sided. Mkhitaryan is the right-sided. Smith Rowe is an attacking midfielder. El Neni and Guendouzi are playing in the right position where El Neni would be the one getting the ball from the back two and giving it to Guendouzi, and Guendouzi is the one running around like Chris Carpenter, flicking his hair and looking at the ladies. Part of that wasn't true. So everybody was playing in their correct positions. And I do think that helped a little bit. But I think that with the upcoming games, he said El Neni then, too many people beginning with the letter E. Emery knows is going to get a better idea of who can do what and what we need to do for the beginning of the game rather than having to wait until partway through the game. I said on the podcast last night that there were quite a few managers that will go and sit up in the stands like Fat Sam was notorious for it, and he'd sit up there and he'd watch the game so you get a better vantage view of what's actually going on and then telephone down and let them not telephone, is it anymore? I don't know, the phone's ringing, it's the gaffer. Walkie-talkie.
2 tins and a bit of wire.
Shouts tactic. Oh, you, boy, no. So it's. I think it's just slowly building up pace. Everybody's falling into position. He knows. I don't think there's going to be many more surprises this season of where people are going to be playing games. And it's nice the fact that Welbeck's been given a chance and really made the most of it. And Iwobi has been outstanding this season. It is almost like the season when he first came in and came into the first team for the second half of the season about 4 years ago. Yeah. It's thrilling to watch. Yeah,
he was very good tonight. Mkhitaryan, I thought, was mixed, but he did some good things, and obviously was built.
He's been like that, is it?
Yeah, he was involved in the goals though, so you can't fault him for that. I want to go on to that second goal because we're sort of going to jump around the game, and then I want to go more on individuals. Richard, coming to you for that second goal, that's the sort of football we want to see at Arsenal and what we kind of expected under Emery, where we play out from the back, expose the space, and then just bang, explode up the pitch. Because that was just really, really nice movement all round, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it really did highlight. This is not me ragging on Petr Cech because I think he's been really good with his hands so far, but it really highlighted what you get with a footballing goalkeeper like Leno. You know, Guendouzi got hassled on the ball and he played quite like a diagonal, and he fired it into him quite hard. He just took it with a control and then pinged it straight over to the thing. It was quite calm. There was no rush. It was all a fluid motion to him, and he just pinged it out to Lichtsteiner, who again another lovely little cushioned header down to Mkhitaryan, who did well. And yeah, I wrote down on my little notepad there, Emery ball. I was like, it's up and running. This is this is what I was kind of expecting, and what I'm hoping we'll see more of going forward. It was a fantastic goal.
Yeah,
really good goal.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Just the movement, Mkhitaryan's little turn, sort of chop inside to open up the width of the pitch, and then Iwobi again sticking to that left hand side using the width, and just Welbeck, good overlap from Nacho as well, who got the final touch on for Welbeck for the goal. There was refereeing was weird tonight. Danny, did you know that they were using VAR in this competition? I didn't have a clue. Did anyone know this?
I realised they were using VAR because Seymour was here doing my cleaning, and as usual, she was bent over with her ass in front of the TV, yapping away about something. And I went, whoa, shh. She went, what? And I thought, I haven't got my glasses on. I can't really see what's going on. And I thought it was a famous person. I honestly thought it was someone doing like a sketch artist. So he had a pad down there and he was doing that in it. And I thought, well, they've got a sketch artist. What's going on? And then they said VAR. And I went, oh, this game's got VAR. So no, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Good.
I didn't know. I've got this weird thing now in my head of like the court sketch artist, but for some reason it's at a football game.
But the thing is, the sketch artist was sketching the players naked.
Yeah,
terrifying thought.
So as far as I could see, VAR was obviously supposed to be used throughout the game, and certain things are reviewed. The first one that jumped to mind for me that could have been reviewed, Richard, I don't know if you remember seeing this in the first half. Iwobi was brought down in the box. The ball's running away from him a little bit. He's running away from the goal, but he's inside the 18-yard box. And he's clearly brought down. Dean doesn't give it, which, okay, happens. Arsenal fans have mixed views on Mike Dean, it's fair to say. But surely the guy in the seat at VAR has got to, at least, send a message to him or something in the earpiece. It didn't seem like he was even talked to.
Well, I'm not quite 100% sure how it works. I think had it been the VAR system that's set up in Germany and was used in the World Cup, I think that may have happened. But I don't know if Mike Dean has to ask a question or something like that. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I thought it was definitely a penalty. Like I say, he definitely there was contact there, and he tried to stay up as best he could. But it's one of those things where the pundits sort of say he should have gone down, and then he probably would have got something. But he tried tried very hard to stay on his feet. But yeah, I'd like to know what the process is for it, because I think it was in the second half, late in the second half, when it was a Brentford player which went through on goal, and he got kind of sandwiched between Lichtsteiner and Torreira.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
and they mentioned there that he had the use of it, but Dean didn't thingy. So I thought, does he have to prompt it, or did they prompt it to him? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not sure how it is. I think if it's at least at the World Cup, if it's a clear and obvious error, then the VAR, whoever sitting in the seat or whatever, can then message the referee. But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Steve's saying that the ref has to ask for a VAR review, so it might be that. I'm not sure on how it works. Yeah. As with most things and the rules in football these days, I'm fairly sure they just make it up as they go along. But I think that could have been a penalty, definitely, on Iwobi. And there was a few tackles as well that I thought were, some were like, why wasn't a yellow given there, or something harsher, that kind of thing. But all in all, it didn't cost us in the end, so can't complain about that. I'm going to jump into the second half because, the team's performance overall was sort of the weird thing. Second half, we came out, we're 2-0 up, looked fairly comfortable, cruising, getting on the ball, breaking nicely. Probably should have had a couple more goals. And then we just sort of seemed to shrink back into the game, Danny. And this is like what Holick was saying. This is like we've seen first half performances so far this season. It's totally reversed tonight in that we seem to allow pressure onto us and just sort of fell out of the game. You got any idea why that happened, or did they just take their foot off the gas, or a little bit handbrake?
I know in Wenger's later years, he didn't want to go out there and humiliate teams. Like I think we got 7 against Everton a couple of times. We got a whole hatful against Middlesbrough, and I know tonight that West Ham beat Macclesfield, who I think it's Macclesfield possibly.
Yeah,
rock bottom of League 2. They smashed them 8-0. I mean, that's all their goals gone now until Christmas, so that's them knackered. But you should go out there and make the most of it. Now, when we went out in the first half, like we were saying, that they missed quite a few opportunities. If we'd have gone in at half time rather than being 2-0 up, if we'd have gone in like 4-0, 5-0 up, then there wouldn't really have been much of a second half. And then other players could have come on and had some minutes, and Eddie would have got a run. But like you said, they took their foot. I don't like saying they took their foot off the accelerator pedal, because we don't say gas over here. And they were cruising a little bit at 2-0, and then it was a strange substitution when it brought on Torreira when we were 2-1. When it was 2-1, I thought, well, no, this team aren't that good. Just keep having a go, keep pushing. But I suppose it shows that winning the game was more important for him. But why they did that and why things started to slow down, I've got no idea. It's very strange. In fact, it got a bit boring at one point, because if you'd have watched the first 10 minutes of the game, you'd have thought it's going to be like this for the entire 90 minutes. We're going to murder them. It wasn't. I mean, maybe the first 10 and the last 5 minutes was the only parts of the game where we looked really dangerous.
I thought the first part, we actually did okay. There was a couple of times Emil Smith-Rowe got played in, and he did make the most of it, kind of thing. It was only up until Guendouzi's really stupid foul, and then after that, we just seemed to panic. We started playing really. We kept on trying to force it instead of calming down and just trying to keep possession. We were trying to force it too much, I think, and then that we were just losing the ball, and Brentford were breaking on us. I thought it was okay until that goal, and then we just panicked.
Yeah, I mean, we gave up a bit more possession of the second half, and fair play to Brentford. I think they definitely played better second half. They were a lot more comfortable in the game, and maybe some nerves and jitters and stuff like that. And there's Unitas coming back to Arsenal, and I'm sure he's told a lot of the players there what it was like being at the club, that kind of thing. But it was just weird. The goal itself. That Brentford scored. Good goal by Judge. Did what you want from a player from a free kick. I don't know a lot about him, but from our other hipsters like Josh and Ross, our Southampton friend, says he's very good and should be in the Premier League. Quality of the player. I just wanted to ask you both: did you think Leno should have done better? Danny, you first.
No, I think when you come to taking penalties, I'm striking Bergie. When it comes to penalties and free kicks, it is mostly down, especially penalties, it's mostly down to where the person places it. So if you're in a situation where the person taking the free kick or the penalty can make sure the goalkeeper can't get it. I mean, if you're in a situation where you can definitely make sure, if you put it in the top right on top left-hand corner, no goalie on earth is going to do that unless it's Paul. I think it was Paul Cooper for Ipswich back in the 70s. He stood 1/3 the way across the goal. So everybody shot that way. And I think he saved something like 9 out of 10 penalties by doing that. And I've never seen anybody else do it, or Bruce Grobbler giving it the crazy legs. But there is, if there is always on the free kick take, I mean, the penalty takers, not the free kick, isn't it? Yeah, it's not talking about two different things. He put it in the only place that you can guarantee the goalie can't reach it, and that's what he did. And so you can't really fault Leno for that. He could have maybe positioned the wall slightly different, or he could have realised the angle that he was at, that it was probable that he was going to go top right, and then maybe shifted the wall a little bit, put himself there a little bit more. But it's out of your hands as a goalkeeper when you're in those dead ball situations. If the person taking the dead ball is good enough, then you've got no chance. And that's what happened. And that's a couple of times now that 2 of the goals that he's conceded for us have not been his fault at all. I don't think. I could be wrong.
Richard, feel free to jump in on this, because I have slightly different opinion to Danny on this one. I just want to hear yours first.
I think I don't blame Leno per se too much about it. It was kind of hard because you had a left footer and a right footer over the ball, and you had to kind of judge who was gonna go for it. I do think he stood a little bit too far over to the right hand post and left himself a lot to do, because although he hit it well, Judge, he did, he had some power and pace on that. It wasn't exactly high and tight into the corner. And I think maybe he gave himself a little, or he expected the wall to do a little bit too much, and gave himself a little bit too much space on that left-hand side. So I don't want to be too overly critical, but I can see why some people would think that.
Yeah, I mean, that for me is just when I look at where the ball actually ends up in the net. You know, like you said, it's not in the top corner, it's not in the bottom corner, it's not like hitting into the side net and that kind of thing. I just think with a little bit better positioning and reaction speed, then Leno should really be saving that. Or I would expect an Arsenal who is a goalkeeper who's at Arsenal to be able to save that. Whether Leno has that ability, I don't know, because I honestly haven't seen enough of him. But that might lead to why Emery is sort of leaning on Cech at the moment in the Premier League, despite it's quite obvious that Leno is the more comfortable passer of the ball from out the back, but Cech is basically keeping us in games in the moment in the Premier League. And I saw a few people tonight say, Cech would have saved that free kick. So it's all hindsight 2020. You never know. But
my thing with Leno, my criticism as a goalkeeper as Leno is he doesn't fill out. He's not big enough. He doesn't fill out the goal.
Yeah,
so getting to angles is always going to be. That's why, similar sort of thing with Pickford. Pickford's got great reactions and stuff like that, but he's not a big goalkeeper. Angles is always going to be. Sorry,
he's only 12 years old as well.
Yeah, that too. Got to do your homework and stuff like that. Shea Given was similar as well. Fantastic shot stopper, fantastic goalkeeper, but because he wasn't the biggest, he never filled out the goal, and corners and angles were always going to be difficult for him. And I unfortunately have that kind of feeling for Leno, but I feel also sorry for him because there's not really faced any shots really that. They're either completely unstoppable or they're nothing shots. There's no kind of
in between. You haven't really seen him tested properly in a game, kind of thing.
There was one tonight, wasn't there, where he had to dive down to his right-hand side and just palm it around the edge of the post. Or have I, with this one, with the free kick, have I misremembered it? Did he not put it in snugly in the top right-hand corner?
No, it wasn't in the top corner. No. Like Richard said, it was like really well struck and it was great technique and everything, and it was a powerful shot. But I just think with slightly better positioning, and he probably should at least be getting to it. And he kind of,
I don't think he stuck out his hands for it.
Yeah, I think when he dived for it, he kind of like pulled his hand away a little bit. And I think sometimes you're a keeper, it's like whether you're going to get it or not. And if he knows, I'm not going to save it, there's no point putting your hand there, because I assume you can maybe do yourself some sort of injury or whatever. But it was a little bit disappointed with that, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter in the result for the game. Like you said, we did wobble after that quite a bit. There was a hilarious moment where tiny little Nico Yanaris spun Mustafi, which really made me laugh. Sat him on his ass, which is really weird to see from someone who's essentially a fullback. I'll jump onto the last goal quickly, and then I want to go into individuals. Lacazette came on and kind of got gifted the goal, had to work for it, but some really poor defending from Brentford, who up until that point I thought had done themselves really proud. But Richard, just what you made of Lacazette when he came on, that kind of work rate, we've seen it all season so far, haven't we? And a very tidy finish.
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing this season a different Lacazette than last season. I almost kind of think this time last season, I don't think he would have scored that goal. I don't think he would have had that hustle and bustle and that forfeit to clatter into people and to make them make a mistake. He didn't foul anyone. I don't think he even really contacted anyone, but he just put himself about there, made the defenders unsure and make a mistake. And then, like I say, again, and a tidy finish. Like I say, he's really good in the box, isn't he? But like I say, I'm really pleased with Lacazette now. He's coming on and his work rate is up. He still every now and again gives the ball away a little bit, and I think he did one tonight that set us back, and which was eerily similar to the Chelsea one. And I was like, oh god, here we go again. But it was. For the most part, like I say, I think his physicality and his coping with the pace and the physicality of the league has improved no end. I've really been impressed with him.
Yeah, and I think it would have been nice if he could get the goal earlier and settle the nerves a little bit. But I think 3-1 in the end was fairly representative of the game, and we sort of had 20 minutes where we were under a bit of pressure. But they didn't really create too many clear-cut chances. Danny, I want to talk about individual performances in the game. Lots of people in the chat box asking about Emil Smith-Rowe. What did you make of Mr. Death Row Records tonight? He had a decent chance that was stopped only by a good tackle, I thought, and a couple other times where he got in behind. He disappeared a little bit at times in the game, I thought, but overall, promising start for him.
Yeah, Brentford weren't out there to play to let people get away with it. There were some people there that are never going to play at the Emirates again, and they're going to get stuck in, and they're going to try and wind up the younger players, because these are people who've been playing in the lower leagues. You know that if you rough people up, they're not going to be able to play the game they want to do, as we found out with Guendouzi. He had some decent runs, always very energetic. There was one where he ran down to the left on. Yeah, I suppose it was the left. And then I thought, what's he going to do here? This would be a sign of a player, whether he's a team player, whether he's a greedy player. He stopped. I think he dragged it back, and then he kind of went to put it across the middle of the penalty area, but it went a little bit too wide so that he missed the players. And I thought, yeah, that's a good sign that he's up for being a team player and trying to help out the other players, rather than doing a Sanchez who did just ran all the way down, take on about 8 players and then skied it. So that was really nice, and I thought it was really good for him. It's good for him to be getting all these minutes, but him along with Guendouzi, these two players, it doesn't matter what they do all season. It's getting the minutes, it's getting the time, it's getting the experience, which is going to make them a better player in the future. So for me, both those players can do no wrong, really. But it's really good to see them both start the game, and it's really encouraging that we've got yet more young players coming through, unlike some clubs who are buying 37-year-old goalkeepers on a free transfer, and rather than relying on youth. So it's great to see we're doing that.
Yeah, he didn't get involved in the game as much as I would have wanted tonight, but I think that was in part down to our midfield pairing. Richard, I want to ask you about them, El Neni and Guendouzi tonight. I will never fault their running, either of them. And as Danny said, Guendouzi is still very, very young, and we've seen bits of brilliance from him this season, but we've also seen some mistakes and a bit of rashness every now and again. It's not the most creative pairing in centre mid, is it? But work rate, you're going to get running non-stop.
Yeah, I say I feel hard, criticizing my Egyptian brother, but El Nene, he's not the he's not the most creative, unfortunately. It's a lot of his passes, they're safe passes. The one thing that is the improvement we've having them both there is their motors are so good, their engines are so good, so the mobility is very, very good. Whereas I think that's one of the things that in this league that lets down Xhaka and hurts Xhaka is he's not mobile enough, where those two are. I didn't think it was too bad a performance from the pair of them. There was nothing spectacular. I thought there was a good couple of times when they linked up well and Guendouzi got forward, but it was you can only play what's in front of you, and they weren't, as apart from that 10-minute spell where there's panic station, they weren't tested all that much. And I think, like I said, I think the connection with, I thought Emil Smith-Rowe kind of the game at time passed him by.
Yeah, I think that's
fair.
He
struggled to get involved in the game.
Yeah,
and then when he did, I think he. I think someone was it Welbeck or Mkhitaryan played him in, and he was in acres of space. And I thought, oh, go on, have a shot, and he kind of tried to cross it, and he just skied it straight up in the air.
Yeah, a little bit of rush of blood to the head kind of thing. Yeah,
but I don't mind that. Let him make them sort of mistakes in these sort of games. Get it out of your system. Same with Guendouzi. Guendouzi, he's gonna have. He seems to have a mistake in him, but he's always really positive. He tries to be as positive as he can. He was playing second division French football last season, so it's going to happen. The sooner he gets it out of his way, get it out of his system now, and then hopefully, the latter part of this season, next season, they're going to be, those mistakes and idiosyncrasies are going to be less and less.
Yeah, absolutely. David Norris, we should change the name of the show to Men with Beards. See, this is if you're not watching live, if you're listening on SoundCloud or Acast or iTunes or whatever, this is what you're missing. That midfield tonight, I think it highlighted one of the things. I thought that, Danny, I just want to jump quickly on this before we go back into individuals. Again, I said earlier about the shape. The fact that the two wide men really kind of stuck to their roles. I think if you saw Xhaka and Torreira in there as the two centre mids, then okay, yeah, it's Brentford, so it's different. I just think it's so much more fluid. The team structure is so much better. It's so much more balanced. The way we set up in general tonight. And I think that's the issue that Emery has going forward when it's like you're going to put your first team out for a Premier League game, that when you chuck in Aubameyang, Ramsey and Ozil in the mix, you are going to struggle a little bit. So Iwobi tonight I thought was excellent again. And whenever we've seen him so far this season, I think he's played really, really well.
He played the full 90 minutes and ran the entire 93 minutes. Which,
Yeah.
as Steve, if anyone listens to the pod for a long time, you know that our very own Lord Steve Hill Wood, he regularly mentioned the fact that Iwobi couldn't go more than 60 minutes without having a bloody coronary on the side of the pitch.
Yeah, I thought again he was very, very good tonight and going past players. Do you think, just from what Emery's seen so far, it won't be the way he's been performing, and also the fact that I think it does balance the team a little bit more, that maybe he gets a shout at starting in the bigger games, but not Watford this weekend. I doubt, because of just the number of times he's played in the recent week or so. But going ahead, if he keeps up this form, I just think it balances the team a little bit more. I know that means you've either got to move Ozil or drop Aubameyang or something like that. I think the overall balance of the team's better.
Yeah, if you get we know the formation now is going to be 4-2-1 behind the kind of 3 up front, and we know that is going to be the formation of the team. Now, if you then block off but draw little squares around the pitch of where the players are going to be, that's when you start to have a problem, because Aubameyang has in the past played wide. He's playing wide left, isn't he? He's played wide left. Then in Dortmund he played as a striker, and so now you've got a player that can occupy both of those positions. Xhaka, when he was at Mönchengladbach, he was a central midfielder who could get stuck in and do. I mean, Xhaka's the one in our team that does more passing. Last season he had the record in the Premier League for, I think, 3,500 passes or 3,300 passes. There's a really good program on ITV4 hosted by Tim Vine. It's a football quiz show, and I watched it last night, and this stat came up. The bloke had to guess how many passes Xhaka did last season. I guessed at 3,400. He guessed at 12,000. Tim Vine went, if it had been that 12,000 passes in the Premier League last season, he'd be playing on his own. It was 3,276 or something, so I was quite close. So while Xhaka's been at Arsenal, he's been occupying the defensive that area of defensive midfielder. So we saw on Sunday that he was still drifting back there to get the ball, rather than going that is going to be Torreira's position, and Torreira can play in the midfield one. And then you've got all these players that can play in so many positions. But like you said tonight, Mkhitaryan, right-sided attacker. Iwobi, left-sided attacker. Welbeck, only a striker, possibly a number 10. Emile Smith-Rowe is another one who can come from midfield, more like a Ramsey than an Ozil. And I think it does. The players need to know what their positions are going to be. Xhaka, stop going to get the ball. You don't need to do that anymore. We're going to be playing you in your best position. Aubameyang, there's no need for you to keep coming in from the side. I know sometimes it works, but at the beginning of the season we saw that Aubameyang was playing as the striker, and I think that it's going to confuse the situation if you still get players trying to play more than one role on the pitch during the game just because they've played it before. So I think that's something that is only going to come with time. Like, we will probably see less of Xhaka going back to get the ball and more of Torreira doing it, and more of Xhaka being in midfield passing around the balls, because he does more passes. I think the last couple of games he's had 103 and 101 passes in the game, with 83% and 81% pass accuracy, where the next highest player was like Mustafi with 68 passes, and then I think it was Torreira with 64 passes. So you need to have these players and have them playing in their best position, say that's what you go and do. You do that best and you stick to doing it. But I still think sometimes this season we'll see Aubameyang playing up front as a striker, which is only going to confuse him because he will end up drifting out wide. Like Henry, sometimes you just got to accept these things, haven't you? Yeah.
Look, chat box, I'm not moaning at all of you. There's 158. It's winter. Danny's up. He's not like, normally he's whinging because he's so cold and he's aching, and you've only given him 61 likes. It's dreadful.
Don't make me put my new snood on. I'll put it on.
He's gone full Nasri and got a snood. It's terrible.
Got a snood and a hat. Oh, $7.97 Amazon. They should sponsor us for that.
It's so weird being on this podcast now and like Iwobi getting so much love because it just last season it was dreadful. He's getting pelters.
But didn't we all say so many times last season? He's one of our own. He is like one of the Tony Adams, George Graham days. I feel the same way about them a lot as I do about him. That he's one of our own. He's come through, and we've got to support him. And that all he needs is the right direction. And like Steve said, he needs the fitness training, and everything's coming together for him, which means he'll be living on a free to Man City soon.
I think Arsenal fans wanted to cheer him and didn't want to give him so much stick, but he was awful last season. But he's been really, really good. He's beefed up something chronic. He's really hit the weights, and like he seems a lot more powerful and stronger in himself. So like, mate, long may it continue. Hopefully he gets better and better. Hopefully he's getting direction from Emery. You know, them little USBs are doing the trick, and you know.
Our very own Josh there saying, "I've always flown the Iwobi flag." Yeah, it's very true, Josh. There wasn't too many other players I wanted to highlight. The only other one, Danny, I know you're a big Mustafi fan, so I'll let you stick up for him. Right, I'm not saying he's a bad defender because he's clearly not, and you know, and he made some very good tackles tonight, and he defended well in the air. But there were a couple of times when, Jesus Christ,
He likes to get dizzy, didn't he?
Oh dear! I mean, he got spun by Yanaris, which was embarrassing enough. And there's another one where he fell over, and then as he falls over, he goes, "I'm going to be clever. I'll fall into the player and foul him conveniently," and he can't even do that right. And the player
you missed it. He gave the ball away before that as well.
Oh yeah. So I mean, is he just one of those guys that we're going to have to go? You know what? 99% of the game, he's fine. He's perfect. He's really good. And it's just that 1% when, you know, there's always going to be one moment where he might just randomly collapse for no reason. You know, like those little, I don't know what those toys are called. But you have like a little giraffe and there's a button underneath it, and you push the button in and it just collapses into all little bits. And then when you let go of the button, it springs back up
well,
again.
the legs are little segments, and there's rubber string going between them.
Yeah, he's like one of them, isn't he? Just there's always one point in the game. It just goes. Is it something we're gonna have to sort of persevere with?
Well, I wouldn't say that Mustafi is in the range of the Pascal Sigan, the Igor Stepanovs, the Sebastian Squalacci. That's one there for the dads and the granddads. But historically, you never have two magnificent defenders. I mean, we've had loads like Tony Adams playing with Keown or Campbell, but usually you'll have one of the best, the organised central defender, which for us, the recently has been Koscielny. He's not playing, so it looks like it's going to be that. Who's that really slow Greek player? We've got another one that can't run or tackle. What's his name?
Jason, Dave. No, Socrates.
That's it. Yeah, Socrates, the thinker. So that's, I think that, yeah. So he's always played. He's playing with Koscielny, and he's not been the star one. He's always gonna be the bridesmaid, not the bride. But when we see Socrates and Koscielny, then we're going to have two genuinely brilliant centre backs that are going. Then we're going to go, oh, now it's been a while since we've had two brilliant like that. It's almost going to be back to the times of when we had Per Mertesacker and Koscielny back in their prime. When I think there was a Twitter screen grab going around when there was like, we played 150 games and hadn't conceded a goal or something magnificent like that. So then when those two are there, he is going to be down fighting Holding and Papadopoulos and all those other ones for a first team place. But he's always going to be there or thereabouts. And he's a decent player, but he's never going to be your star defender.
No.
That, haven't I?
One thing, Richard, that's sort of come out of this, because Socrates obviously went off in the previous game with that knock, and hopefully is all fine. I think they said maybe a week or two at most. But Rob Holding's come in, who I actually think's done really, really well. And there's a few people. We're not going into questions now, but I will highlight it now because someone has already asked. Joshua Page asked, should we start Holding over Mustafi? Obviously, with the caveat that, you know, Socrates is fit and whatever. But would you give him a go? Because I think he's looked really, really good since he's come in. Very confident on the ball as well.
Yeah, I think so. I thought he was really good tonight. There was a couple of times where he dwelled on the ball a little bit in that panic session, but for the most part, even when he came on the other day against Everton, he was really, really good. And I like the fact that he seems to be a reader, whereas Socrates is like a bit of an enforcer kind of thing. And I like that pair in my centre backs. I like to have a pair. I don't like to have two of the same centre backs
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
kind of say. So yeah, no, I'm all for it. Like I say, I think he's been very, very impressive, Rob Holding, since he's come back into the fold. And yeah, no, I don't know if I'd start because they've only just started doing the pairing between Socrates and Mustafi, and I'm thinking they're only just starting to forge a relationship. Do you make a bit mess up that and throw like the Holding into the works? I'm not 100% sure, but he's done nothing wrong or anything like that, or nothing to say no he shouldn't do. I think he's done very, very well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be, if someone said to me, "Oh, Holding's going to play right over Mustafi," then I would have absolutely no issue with it. As of right now, I just
I
think he's
wouldn't.
very solid.
Yeah, I wouldn't shout it down or no. But like I said, I'd like to give him a few more games, Mustafi, if he continues with this. Because the thing is, like you say about his 1%, that one bit, you don't know when that one bit is going to happen, when that one mistake is going to happen, and it just puts you on edge and puts frighteners on you, which then makes other players, the rest of the team, and your right back and your other centre back, puts them on edge, and it's not a calming kind of serenity sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it just puts everybody on edge, which means it more likely other people are going to make an edge. But no, if he put Holding in with Socrates next week, I wouldn't be averse to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So lovely people in the chat box. If you do have questions, please do fire away. I'm gonna very quickly and professionally talk whilst I load Twitter, because I always forget to have Twitter open because we get sent tweet questions as well. So I'm very clever like that. But we do have one question already. But please do keep sticking them in the box. And it is from Pete Colson, and it is from you for you, Richard. Is it ridiculous to want us to experiment with 4-4-2 with two classy strikers? Couldn't we at least give it a go against lesser teams, or is our midfield not good enough to cope? Have a go at that.
No, Mr. Colson, that's not a silly question. Or no, it's silly to experiment. I've long wanted us to play a version of a 4-4-2, because you've got the two strikers up there. They look like a pair. They look like they've got an understanding. The only problem with it, I don't think you can play a standardized normal English 4-4-2. We don't have any wingers, but I think, and because obviously, and if you did that, our two in centre would just get destroyed. I think if you played like I say, more of a diamond, similar to how Uruguay play. Like I said, they counter attack very, very quickly. They have two orthodox strikers in Cavani and Suarez, and I think we could similar to that with Torreira at the base of the diamond. Özil, if Özil's not playing, you could even have Mkhitaryan or Iwobi or something like that at the point of the diamond, with someone like Ramsey and Xhaka either side of them. I think Ramsey, needs to play a little bit deeper, get hold of the ball a little bit more, rather than, I can see why Emery's trying to play him so high up to try and be the point of the press, or the kind of half press that we're doing at the minute. But I think he needs to be deeper on the ball, make deeper late runs towards the box and get onto the ball. So I think it will work. Will Emery try it? Probably not, because we're still experimenting with what we got at the minute. I personally would love to see it, and I think it, for the players that we've got, I think it will work.
Yeah. Someone's just put in the box. Brandon McCallum's just put in the box. 3-5-2 with wing backs allows you to play top, which I do agree, and I do think we've actually got the centre backs to play for it at the back as well, and maybe makes the midfield a little bit stronger. But it's interesting. I do agree with you though. I think you have to let the team settle, and he's got his, he wants to play this sort of 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, however you look at it. I think once the team is settled in that and playing out from the back, then maybe you'll see, a home game here or there where he might go, 4-4-2 or two up top and whatever the system is. that kind of thing. But I think until the team is much more settled and he knows his best 11 and can rely on people, it's going to be a very different thing. We got another one. We answered the Joshua Page question about holding a Mustafi. Another one from Pete Colton. Question for me: is Ismail Assar of Rennes the winger we need? I have no idea. Chris has spoken about him a lot. I've seen him. Oh Christ! When was the last time I saw him? I don't know if it was last season or season before. I'm not sure. I don't even know if he was at Rennes then, but he was quite impressive when I saw him. But he's very young. I know he's doing well this season. There was another winger who I really liked. Well, there's the Pavon guy from Boca Juniors who we've been linked with quite a bit. Who I haven't seen either, but apparently he's very good. But South Americans coming over to European League is a big step up. The other one is Chiesa at Fiorentina, who I would really, really like. Also, because we get his dad in the stands as well, which would just be cool. Because if you're old, you remember him as well. Ryan Cost asks, Danny, you can have this one. Martial has 1 year on his contract, possibly. I have no idea if that's true or not. He might have just signed a new one. Would you be in for him?
It's going to be another one of those situations where it is going to be we're going to play him at the left wing or the left forward, I suppose, or outside left, as it should be called, or whether you're going to be playing him as a striker. Is it someone you want to bring in that is going to cover both those positions? I don't know, but I like the point where you were saying playing too much fun. I was thinking of a good analogy. It'd be a little bit like having Vieira, Gilberto, and Cesc Fabregas at Arsenal, and then going, what we're going to do is play a two-man midfield. You've got Lacazette and you've got Aubameyang at the club, and only playing one of them in the right position at a time. We're going to look back at this in years to come and go, that's a bit of a shame. So adding a third one like Martial to that could make it worse. But if he's going to go and do a Ramsey, as it will be soon known, and he's not going to be coming to us for what he's probably on a couple of $100,000 there. And if he's like Steve says, if he signed a new contract, but even if he hadn't signed a new contract, coming on a free, players don't just go, yeah, I'm on $100,000 a week here. I'm going to come to you for 110. They're going to want, like Sol Campbell, when he left Spurs, he came to us and he was on $100,000 a week because he came on a free transfer, when most other players in the league are on 20, 30 grand a week. So you're going to be paying up, and I don't think we need him. I don't think he's going to fit in. Plus, with the emergence of Iwobi playing on that left side, but Iwobi has said a few times, or his dad has said, or it's been reported that he says his best position is the number 10. I think he would be thrilling at number 10 because in the two that we got playing there at the moment are both quite lackluster.
I really like Martial. I think he's a very good player, but I agree it's so difficult already to get Aubameyang and Lacazette in the team that the only way you could possibly sign Martial is if one of those left, and which I just can't see happening. It would just be very, very weird to move on, either of those players when they're both very settled and clearly get on so well together as well. And Aubameyang so far hasn't really complained about playing from the left hand side. So as it is, I keep it the status quo. But yeah, I like Martial. I think he's a great player. Very wasted under Mourinho.
Who at that club isn't wasted?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Andrew Agnelli asks, should we move on Mickey in January and replace him with a proper right winger? What do you reckon, Richard?
When does he want to move him on? And when? Did you say
January? Yeah.
Nah, I'd give him the full season. I've been such a big fan of Mkhitaryan ever since I feel like he destroyed us when he was at Dortmund. He's a tricky one, Mkhitaryan, because he looks like he's on the cusp of something. He looks like they're like, there's a couple of times where he does something fantastic, and you're like, he does something completely. He messes it up in the end. He looks like he's on the cusp of something. So I would persevere with him until the end of the season. I don't think there's a major reason to get rid of him. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd still like to bring someone in for that kind of right hand side, because I don't think that Mkhitaryan really, that's his real position. I think he's like I say, a number 10, playing behind the strikers. So I don't know. Like, how much money is he on? Like loads of money, Mkhitaryan?
He's on 200. He's on around the same money as Aubameyang, so 200 and something a week. I think it's Özil, then Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan are the next two highest paid players. I think they're on about the same wage. So he's on a lot of money, but I mean, everything's a lot of money these days in football, isn't it? But
yeah, again, like I said, again, similar to my answer with the Holding situation, I wouldn't be gutted if we did move him on and brought in someone, but I still think he's finding his feet with us, and it's just hard to fit him in the side over someone like Ozil or in the system that we're playing at the minute.
Yeah. We have some. Do you want some exclusive John Cross breaking news, Danny?
Go on.
AFC talks with Ramsey re a new contract have broken down. I'm not reading this just for fun. I'm reading this because there are questions about Ramsey. Have broken down totally, and the club has withdrawn their offer. Aaron will leave in the summer. Ramsey was keen to stay, and Arsenal were confident of securing a deal, but it's understood there is no longer an offer on the table for him to sign. Breakdown of talks not down to Aaron rejecting a new deal.
Someone needs to go and text Jason.
Performance is what it's bloody down to.
First of all, everyone tweet Jason, check he's okay, because he might be quite upset now. Secondly, obviously, it is from John Cross, so it's probably clickbait, but you never know. He has been on here before, so on the pod. So apparently, he's a very nice man. I wasn't a part of ABW.
And until Ornstein, it doesn't make any sense. It's fine.
I wouldn't worry, John. We'll just get Aaron Ramsey to come on the pod and explain himself. That Andrew Agnelli, who sent the question, and he was nearly on tonight with us, but he had some errands to go and run. But he nearly came on, and one of our regulars in the chat box, Stan the Man, has got himself a new tablet. I think he said he's got himself a new iPad. So he, depending on how good the signal is, he might well be on Zoom there again. It's Jason in charge later on. None of you have got a chance. He hates everyone unless you're Welsh.
Yeah,
him and Aaron Ramsey.
Very, very quick question off football topics before we get back to football. Corey Austin asks, does Richard have more than one copy of Catcher in the Rye in his collection?
Catcher? No, I have no. I had to actually check, but no.
Yeah.
Is he assuming that you're an assassin?
Oh my God, I'm not the only one who got the really obscure reference to a bad film from the 90s.
Like JFK, well, after that, they found a copy of Catcher in the Rye up in the book depository, didn't they? What other ones was there? Well done, Corey. I like that.
Oh dear.
There's a few.
Yeah, actually, I don't know Richard's full name, so unless he has a double barrel name, because they've all got 3 names, haven't they? All the assassins, apparently. Except for Sahan, he didn't. Anyway, right, back to football. Talking nonsense, Jason. This is why we can't see Jason's not done this and that. This is why we need more likes, because if we get more likes on a show where Jason's not on and we're talking nonsense, he'll go mad.
Or he'll let us do it.
Right, where were we back to? Neil Vagela. Should we buy a defender in January, considering it is our weakest position? I brought this up earlier in the WhatsApp, Danny. And you talked about it on this week's pod. I haven't listened to all of it yet. I'm only halfway through. Chris Carpenter, if you say hollybobs again, I swear I'm going to shave your hair off. I hate that word.
Almost as much as I hate interlol. Fucking interlol.
I'm happy with the players coming in. Socrates has actually done a lot better than I thought, and I think he's probably been our best centre back so far this season. But we are a little bit short. Hopefully the Socrates knock is just
like Chris.
I wouldn't say Chris is a little short. I'd say he's a lot. But we are a little bit short in that area of the pitch at the moment, aren't we? It's a good thing that Kolasinac is coming back, because Nacho's a little bit knackered. He's played every game so far, I think, this season. Lichtsteiner and Bellerin, we've got good rotation there. But in terms of centre halves, we've got no one. No one else at all, have we? We'd be down to who? Pleggy unpronounceable, I think.
Yeah, and now that it seems that I was talking to Steve the other day about this, that Bielik, when he was in Poland, he was playing in the first team in the first division up there, and he was a defensive midfielder. He's come to us. He's been touted as the new great centre back hope, and then he's gone out on loan to Charlton, and he is kicking ass playing defensive midfield. So I think his future won't be as a centre back, because that's one that we can tick off. And with Callum Chambers having gone out on loan, it's obvious that Wenger didn't want him, and now that Emery doesn't want him. So maybe we should have one, because we can't rely on Koscielny ever being regular playing at the moment. 2 games a week, you can't have that. Mustafi is going to have concussion from all that spinning around, falling over, which is not going to do anybody. That's to send him out in a crash helmet. And then we're down to a few. I mean, we can't rely on the other Greek lad to do it all, and we can't rely on the older Greek lad to play every single game either. So maybe going out and getting someone from another team that isn't playing that much. There'll be quite a few managers sacked and new managers come in and not fancying players. It's usually about January that the current Chelsea manager goes, David Luiz, I don't want you playing anymore. He only ever gets up to January before they get sick of him. So I'm sure. I mean, the amount of static in the air, if we had Guendouzi, El Neni and David Luiz playing, it would be a safety hazard. So maybe we shouldn't have him.
Yeah, lots of hairspray.
Yeah, it'd be good though. You think the striker runs through in a triangle between them three, you just get electrocuted. Yeah, just drop on the pitch. Amazing. I see we have one thumbs down, which I can only assume is a certain Welshman who's very angry with me.
Or Chris. No, unless Chris stood on something to reach the computer, that wouldn't have been Chris.
He'd have to ride in on his cat. Formerly Noza asks, Ramsey, sell or keep? Oh, they're really going for you, Jace. You're not here. They're winding you up tonight, mate.
Bully bastards.
I've spoken on this a couple of times before. Look, if I'm Ramsey, I'm doing exactly what he's doing. If I was in his position, there's no reason to sign a deal. See what happens.
Loyalty, and he's not worth them extra money.
If we were going to sell him, we should have sold him in the summer. If it gets to January and he has no new deal, and if there's a thread of truth in this John Cross thing, then try and sell him in January. The problem is if he gets to January and he knows he's going to go, then he'll just walk away in the summer and get a big signing on fee. So we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot. The one thing I will say,
all over again, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's the club's fault, to be perfectly honest. I know some people saying, "Oh, it's his agent," and they're trying to get more money out of it. Well, they should have sorted it out when he had 2 years left in his contract. It shouldn't. Once you've got a year and a half left, that should be the cut-off point. You should be like, right, we're sorting the contracts out now, or that's it, move you on. Other clubs do it well, and it's something we haven't yet corrected. The one thing I will say for Ramsey is he may not have been playing great this season, but he did get 2 assists the other night, and he still puts in the performances when he can. No, he's not playing great. I think that's partly down to the position he's playing as well. I don't like him being up that high up the pitch, and I don't think he enjoys it particularly either. Stephen Feely asks, maybe do a swap deal with Mickey for Sanchez.
Brilliant.
He's my mate, Stephen Feely. He's a funny dude.
You're doing that?
Yeah.
Oh,
he used to work at the club with me.
Okay. There we go. Dude. Yeah. No. Just no. I loved Sanchez when he was at Arsenal. I thought he was amazing, but hell no.
I'm gonna say
so winding up Man United
very tongue in cheek. I think it's very tongue in cheek what he's saying.
Well, they're getting so upset with it. It's brilliant. Oh, Joshua Page, thank you very much for $99 donation. Very, very big thanks to you. Everyone, give Joshua Page some love. Thank you. And he says Richard should be a regular. Big thumbs up. So you go.
Thank you, Joshua Page.
Well, see that chat box? That's how you be nice. No one's ever said anything nice like that about me or Danny.
We've known you for years and we don't. So we're actually bullying Chris, aren't we? We're trying
on every week, slave away in front of this computer.
No thanks. Don't even get any. There are anybody out there listening that is a beard trimming oil place and you want to sponsor us. I mean, what better place? I mean, Chris does his best to grow a beard. Most of us can grow beards. Dom is borrowing mine and John's clippings, and he's going to sellotape on his own beard. But never has there been a more beardy pod than us.
Top man, Josh, and nice to see you get some love from our chat box as well. It's always nice. See, it's nice friendly in there tonight. Couple other little questions, and then we will wrap up tonight's show. Actually, before we do, because I know people tend to go away before we do all our announcements again. I'm not doing an announcement. Don't worry, I'm not doing a silly bit. Richard, if people want to find you on Twitter, what's your Twitter handle, mate? So in case they're not watching live.
At Cactus Cash.
Cactus Cash, and that's Cash with a K, yeah?
It is indeed, yeah.
There you go. So if you've enjoyed Richard tonight and you want to follow him on Twitter, make sure you follow him there. Top bloke, and I'm sure we'll have him on again at some point this season. Right, last couple of questions. Nexus 1, would you sell Ozil to China next season if he has another average season? Danny, would you reckon that?
I'd sell Ozil to the bloody Barbican Pirates if they would take him. He is not worth any amount of money. Like someone made a really good point. Put your hand up and wave if that was you. Someone said that how the hell is Ozil on more money than Aubameyang and Lacazette combined? It's absolutely ridiculous. Whoever gave him that deal needs shooting. Now, I don't know if that means that we get his image rights, because I know sometimes there's a sliding scale that we play them a little bit less, but we keep all their image rights. Steve is the man to go and tweet, but don't annoy him. He will only answer you once. Because he gets fed up with people asking the same question over and over. But Steve's the man. That's at Lord Hillwood on Twitter. If you've got any sensible questions about financing, I would ask our Andrew, but he's too busy swanning around the world drinking champagne and having a great time, the swine. But he's on too much money. That is, I don't know who did that. How can you go from 140 grand to 300, 250, 350? He should have been on no wage increase whatsoever. Like Ramsey, they should get a pay decrease because you're bugger all at the club. It should be, sorry, Ozil, this week, give me his pay packet. There's a crumpled up fiver. Not even one of the new ones, one of the old ones that you can't even use.
What, we're talking cash in hand, are we?
We certainly are.
I'll give Ozil a little bit longer. I know I've already criticised him this season, but it's still early days, and he did have a pretty rubbish summer. Look, I know we're used to it as Englishmen, and if you're not English watching, I know if you're Brazilian or German or Italian or something, you probably have lovely summers, but we don't. We have terrible ones. But if you're a German, that was a really bad summer, really, really bad.
There's someone in the chat box called Young Fast Scientific who's put some really cutting comments. One was about Mustafi eating poo, and now he's put, or he or she, I don't know, looks like a man in the picture, says, sell Ozil to some Chinese dog farm. that's the kind of thing that tickles us here.
So Alexis can go and rescue him. Yeah. Similar way, also following up on the Ozil thing. Whoever gave Ozil 350k a week is an idiot. No big club wanted him, but we still gave in. There's a little bit off topic from tonight of tonight's game, so I'm just going to go to our last question, and it's not going to be an overall one, but just from tonight's game. Satis Zizi, I'll ask another question if someone does a funny one in the box. Stop moaning. What is our weakest point? So what did you think was our weakest point from tonight? And I'll also add to it what was our best point. So Danny, your weakest and strongest point from tonight's game.
Well, I would say it's hard to have an actual weakest point because I thought we were pretty good everywhere with taking into consideration. I'd say our weakest point was our finishing, and our strongest point was the bringing through of converting players that you have been on the verge of the Welbeck, and I'm not going to pluralise it because I hate that, the Welbecks and the Iwobies. No, it's Welbeck and Iwobi.
Yeah.
Those that are on the verge of going Deadwood. Are they in the Jenkinson bench of Deadwood? No, they've both pulled it through, and they're both showing that they are both in contention for first team spots, first team bench, and I think that is really good. The fact that Emery has come in and said to everybody that you've all got a chance, everyone's going to get a go in many different positions, and those two have come through, and I think for me they've shone this season, especially today.
Yeah. Richard, for you, what was your big plus and big minus for tonight?
The link-up play from playing out the back. The Welbeck's second goal, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. The only slight down thing that I had for the whole game was that 20-minute period or so, that 10-minute period where we went mental. But apart from that, I thought we played fairly well. I know it's like say only a championship side, but a championship side knocked out Man United yesterday. So
Yeah.
if I get that dig in there. Yeah, so I thought that some of the link-up play, and interplay between Mkhitaryan, between Lichtsteiner and the keeper and Guendouzi, I thought was pretty good and pretty impressive. And it was starting to resemble what I was hoping Emery ball was going to be.
Yeah, a big positive for me tonight was just, that second goal in particular, the speed with which we moved the ball, and it wasn't overly complicated passes. Excuse me. It wasn't overly complicated, the passes, but it was nice. It was quick. It was direct, through the lines very quickly, and good finishing. The only negative for me tonight, and it not a huge one. You guys already highlighted the period, sort of 10, 15 minutes where we sort of went off the boil. It's a little bit lacking in creativity just from the central two. But that's not really their job anyway. It's not what those players are about and necessarily going to bring to the team. And Guendouzi's got a lot of development to go forwards as well. So I thought overall tonight, performance was really good. Lots of Brentford fans at the stadium as well. I don't know if the Arsenal fans started to fill up a little bit. They seemed like they were turning up a little bit late. A nice PA announcement as well from the good luck. If anyone was watching and they didn't catch that, the PA announcer announced some of those tubes were closed and lines were struggling, whatever. So he just said good luck at the end, which I thought was hilarious. But that is it. That's all we're going to do for tonight.
That last point I put in.
Oh, go on. We got one last good point. Oh, God, Christ. Fat Sim EIE.
Fat Sam.
Fat Sam. Why did I read Fat Sim? Danny, it's your fault. You're
Sim isn't fat. How dare you?
Can't forgive Ramsey after he saved himself for Wales a couple of years back. We needed him and paid his wages, but he showed his loyalty. Let him go. We've got too many people in that position anyway. Oh, well.
Ending on an anti-Welsh note.
Oh, dear. Jason, you have got it both barrels tonight, mate. I did see someone in the chat hilariously say, give Ozil time, he's only had 4 years, to which someone followed up with, give Ramsey time, he's only had 10 years.
Bring back Wilshere, that's what I say. He hasn't had enough time.
It's fair to say, despite the fact we've won 6 on a bounce, the fan base is still definitely divided on certain issues. But yeah, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for everyone joining in. Thank you. Big thanks to Richard for coming on. Well done, Richard. You were brilliant tonight.
You're most welcome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So if you're not following Richard, he's at Cactus Cash on Twitter. That's Cash with a K. So go check him out. Thank you, Danny, for being on.
And cheers for hosting, John. It was much like a hot potato between us two, going who's going to host it and who's going to set it up. I won. I lost one, and you lost the other.
The hot potato always lands in my lap. But yeah, thank you, Chatbox. As always, you've been brilliant. All the questions and the interactions tonight. Big thank yous to Joshua Page as well. Make sure you give him some love.
Cheers,
Thank
Josh.
you very much for the donation.
Thank you, Josh.
Always appreciated. And a big thanks to everyone who's listening on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud.
Go give us a review on iTunes. 5 lucky golden stars, and then if you do that, you're bound to win the lottery. Possibly.
We always appreciate a review. They are very, very helpful.
Because in 6 seasons, we've had about 20.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably like 3 of them are from you, from fake accounts as well.
I don't touch anything iTunes. It's the devil's work.
But if
he says after asking people to go on there and review it.
Satanists, go on there, Satanists, get it done.
If you don't use that platform, then leave a comment in the YouTube video afterwards if you're not watching live, or our Facebook page. Or
I always join in the YouTube comments and have a chat with people.
Do that, and if you're not subscribed on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and please hit the bell icon. Honestly, it's so annoying. YouTube does not notify you anymore if you're just subscribed. So yeah, you need to hit the bell icon and it'll tell you whenever we go live. But that's it. I think, have I plugged everything? Have I done all the plugs?
Next show is Saturday or Sunday, is it?
Watford? Next show is Saturday. It is Watford, which is wow, it's a 3 o'clock game. Hold your breath.
Bullshit.
We ain't going to get many of them. 3 p.m. It's a rarity. So we'll be live after the Watford game. I am not on. I've got a day off.
Disgusting.
Good Lord. Blasphemy. I believe it is Mr. I'm just checking now.
Jack's put it in the WhatsApp group, didn't he?
Yeah, there we go. It's Mr. Davies. I believe it is also Dom and Carl, I think. I'm not sure. There might be someone stepping in for me because I was originally on. So there might be someone who might have 4. I don't know. But you shall find out. Yeah. So, get on the Twitter and follow, and you'll be notified on there, and do the old subscribing thing. This week's podcast is out as well with Danny and Devon, former member of Goonisphere podcast, which is a very good one. Sadly, not with us anymore. Not Devon's not with us.
He died during the pod.
Well, no, Chris was hosting.
They're on a 2-season hiatus.
But yeah, Chris, the pirate, is on. He made a radio appearance and then he goes and hosts the podcast. What's going on? But Mr. Hollick is on as well to keep it all calm.
He saved it for us.
Yeah, he saved it all. So go and check that out as well. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for tonight, and we will be back after the Watford game. 6 on a bounce. Just go for 7. Danny, turn us off.
No, cheeky monkeys.